asking for help is not saying that like you're not able to do something necessarily, but sometimes other things need your focus more. And the help is to say, hey, for me to go do that, I need you to do this. It's not that I couldn't do that. It's not that I'm not capable of doing the thing, but I need to put my attention somewhere else. And so there's different styles of help. And I think that's an interesting way that I've had to look at, career and things like that as well, is to say, it's not that I couldn't, but I do need help so I can, give this other thing the attention it deserves. And if I do that, then this thing over here isn't going to get the attention it deserves.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jim Price, and welcome to the Purpose and Progress podcast. This is the place where we explore how purpose can guide our actions and how growth can become a part of our everyday lives. On the show, I talk with amazing guests, from educators and creators to everyday people with extraordinary stories about the challenges they face, the lessons they've learned, and how to keep moving forward. My goal is to share conversations that inspire you to live intentionally, embrace growth, and take meaningful steps to your own purpose. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Purpose and Progress podcast show. I'm your host, Dr. Jim Price, and we share inspirational stories from interesting people from across different sectors to share their story, to share their journey with us. Everybody always, like I always say, see the success of how things go. And, sometimes they don't know the backstory. And this is a part of that, journey of expressing that and also connecting with understanding and knowledge of, positively forward. So today is no different. We have a spectacular guest. He is a fractional COO and EOS integrator with more than 15 years of experience helping founders turn vision into structure, accountability, and consistent execution. He has led global operations, managed 500 million plus budgets, built teams from the ground up, and guided creative, educational, focused business through growth, restructuring, and reinvention. Today, we're happy to have Benjamin Speich as a guest on our show today. How you doing, Benjamin?
I'm doing great. It's sunny outside and it's kind of sometimes all I can hope for.
Yeah, even here, we just had a tornado in our area just like 2 days ago. Tornado had touched down. The weather's been warm, but then it rains a lot, and then the tornado hit on the Forest Park area of where we live in Massachusetts and stuff, and it was very detrimental. A lot of things happening and stuff. But I've been praying for all the folks and stuff. I didn't want to, I'd always be saying I pray for all the situations like that, stuff like that. So a lot of those things, they happen, and we don't always understand why they happen, but we know that we can get through those obstacles in our lives and make them opportunities for growth and progress in terms of how we structure things.
Absolutely. It puts a lot in perspective, when things like that happen.
So from the beginning and stuff, in terms of your own personal journey, what kind of started and influenced your personal journey in terms of, moving toward where you're at now?
Yeah. I guess it's a journey of curiosity, I'll say. And I think that's kind of been an earmark of what I've done over the years. And it started a long time ago. I always remember being even into high school when you take your first resume writing class, right? As a senior or whenever it was. And I had to ask, what is that called when you click on the thing and you just kind of see what happens? What's that, word for that is? And I still haven't kind of found the right one, I think. But there is something around being curious and being confident enough in your ability to adapt, or even humble enough to raise your hand, when something is going wrong and you need help. But I talk to people all the time, and when I coach, I've coached them and things like that, to say, please try some things before you come to me. I will always absolutely answer the phone and help, but, I need a little bit of effort, on your part. And so I think that's where I started. I came into Air Force, left the Air Force, and then came into the private side and got into just an operations role and customer support kind of thing. And everything was that. Everything was why do we do it this way? Can we do it better? What if we did it like this? And it kept happening where, hey, if you want to do that, if you want to take that on, here's a promotion. Here's the next step. And it just kept happening over and over and over again until, you're like a global vice president of a company and then, kind of moving on from there. But that's how it really started is just that curiosity with, I think, humility of, the ability to say, hey, I messed up. How do I do? What do I do now?
I think that's wonderful because it's a part of I think a lot of people do face those challenges, like being afraid to ask for help when they don't know about something. I know even when I was in middle
Right.
school, if I was sitting in the class, I didn't want to raise my hand and be like, I
Oh, yeah.
don't know, because, other people probably look at me and have these feelings. And
Right.
also touch about being accountable.
Hmm.
Accountable for, like, if you're not asked for help, I mean, you're probably not going to make much progress. So being
Right.
accountable for your own purpose and progress in terms of, like, not being afraid to ask for help, not being afraid to reach out for help, was at all times
Yeah.
everyone needs help at some point in life. Including,
Absolutely.
I've had plenty of times in my life where I've had to get help and assistance with certain things and stuff like that. But I think
Yeah.
sometimes people have a hard time getting over that hurdle because they want to have that feeling of independence and not have to
Mhm.
rely on anybody and feeling like they know everything, you know?
Right. No, absolutely. And I think we were talking about this last week with somebody where there was the asking for help is not saying that like you're not able to do something necessarily, but sometimes other things need your focus more.
Mhm.
And the help is to say, hey, for me to go do that, I need you to do this. It's not that I couldn't do that. It's not that I'm not capable of doing the thing, but I need to put my attention somewhere else. And so there's different styles of help. And I think that's an interesting way that I've had to look at, career and things like that as well, is to say it's not that I couldn't, but I do need help so I can, give this other thing the attention it deserves. And if I do that, then this thing over here isn't going to get the attention it deserves. And that's when you can bring somebody in instead of just trying to do all of it. And then you're not giving either thing the attention either thing deserves.
Exactly. And that's what happens sometimes. Some people just procrastinate too, and they don't really
Right.
push forward. I mean, they may complain about not having changes in their lives and stuff like that, but make no absolute action towards changing anything. You
Yeah.
see that happen in a lot of people's lives too. That's interesting. When you were going through your journey, what obstacles do you feel you faced through your journey? Like some obstacles that you faced?
I'm an introvert
Yeah.
and I talk about being an introvert.
Mhm.
And of course, now there's this, ambiverts and these other things that have come out that have said, well, you can have these people who kind of like, shift and morph in between the two things. But early in my career, I was very introverted, and yet I'm traveling all over the world and having to coach and talk to a lot of people and doing those sort of things. Trade shows, you're out on the floor,
Yeah.
having just walk up to people and start talking.
Mm.
And it's one where I learned to be able to kind of turn it on and off
Mhm.
sort of thing. Right. And there's that sense of being on all day and then, going home or going back to the hotel and just laying in your bed for 3 hours before you have to go turn it on again at dinner. And what the interesting thing that I took from that is actually speaking about it, saying it out loud. I remember the exact scenario I was in where I was onboarding a new company that we had purchased. We are doing a merger,
Yeah.
and I was in charge of the merger and acquisition part. And I was there at their facility and introducing them to the rest of the company
Yeah.
globally. And somewhere in that conversation, I said something like that, whereas like, hey, I'm an introvert by nature and blah, blah, blah. And then it wasn't until like the next day, one of the engineers came in and said, hey, Ben, can you, come over here and let's talk? And he was like, I am hugely introverted, but I want to be a manager.
Mhm.
How have you become a VP of, merger and acquisitions
Yeah.
at this global company when you state you're an introvert? And so it wasn't until he said that that it kind of clicked that like, hey, other people are dealing with these things too. And if I have found a way to overcome them or to handle them in, certain ways, and you have these little tricks of the trade kind of stuff that this is the time to share and be that role model or be that, person that, people look up to without really realizing I was that person. Like I was just out there, talking and, yeah. So yes, being an introvert in the kind of world we are in, I think was an interesting time. And now it's shifted with, we have the ability to be behind a camera and things like that. And I can like just close, the video off and talk to it and you don't see it. So now there's other tricks to do. But for me, that was a big one of realizing like, hey, I can get up in front of people. I can, do these things
Mm.
and no one's really going to know unless you say it. But the fact that I can say it means other people now I can help them in their journey as well and kind of give back kind of thing.
That's so wonderful. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
This is what this show is about. Sometimes people can be introverted and not
Right.
know how to engage and react and stand up in circumstances where they may have to speak out and things like that. And they end up saying nothing and
Mhm.
being more reclusive engagement with others and stuff. And I mean, that's a testimony in itself that you're
Yeah.
able to, have do full trainings and everything.
Yeah.
So like, we're talking now, it's like
Yeah.
you see like the most outgoing, bubbly person.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
would
No,
never ever
exactly.
have think like, when we're talking about,
Yeah.
from our dialogue and stuff, even before we start
Yeah.
the show, I would never have ever thought that. So I mean, your words are definitely inspiring and motivational. Sometimes
Yeah.
I always say we never know who's watching and who's
Yeah.
influencing and impacting to, move toward that positive
Right.
aspect of themselves and understand themselves personally and trying to overcome hurdles such as that. And
For sure.
I know I was never always a great frontline speaker. Now I,
Yeah. Yeah.
I do shows and stuff, so you
Yeah.
never know.
You never know. You never know what's going to happen. And yeah, it's always been one of those where, again, I think it leans into the other side of that, like being curious part of like what happens if you do it. And I've been able to do that, which I think helps then with the speaking pieces and the being in front of people is yeah, the massive anxiety and the knots and all of that are there. And then there's that little voice going, well, what if you just tried it? What if you just see what happens?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I enjoy doing those things. I think I've come to learn, putting your body through enough of it. You start to learn certain things, how to handle that. And then, yeah, the ability to just kind of push through sometimes. So,
Yeah, that's so amazing. I know
yeah,
audience will definitely be able to connect with that positive message of overcoming obstacles. I mean,
yeah,
that's a big obstacle.
it's a huge
So
one.
speaking in front of people, and all of a sudden you have to speak in front of a lot of people.
Yeah,
That's the big variation of changes there. You know,
for sure.
if you were to feel in terms of achievements and things like
Mhm.
that, what kind of achievements do you feel like you hold most dear to you in terms of all the things you might have done, maybe even a few things if you might have done?
Oh man, yeah. Achievements are tough. That is, I don't know if I would say it's an obstacle, but I will say self promotion is one of those that's very tough for me to do.
Mhm.
And talking about achievements and things like that. But I did, work my way up through a company, was literally the remote service repair guide
Yeah.
when I started. And then 14 years later, I left as, the VP of merger and acquisitions
Mm.
and just, chipped away at doing that and traveled the world and got to experience, a lot of things coming from a small town, Wisconsin,
No.
to being globally, you know, like savvy, in like how to do that. There's lots of people like this was Wisconsin. There's people I still know who have never left Wisconsin.
Yeah.
It's one of those small town kind of places. And it was one where I started and military, of course, got me, a taste of it, but it's like there's a big world out there. Let's go see the things. Let's be in a place where nobody speaks English and you have to go to the ATM and try to tell that to the bar that I'm not failing on my check. I'm
Yeah.
trying to go get money somehow. So there's all these different things. So I will say like that I feel like is an achievement to be able to go and do that or at least overcome a lot of those things.
Mm.
And then I recently as, 2 years started my own company and
Okay.
so I did what I was doing and realized that there's been a couple times where I was really good at working myself out of a job.
Yeah.
And then looking back on the career, you're like, that's all I've been doing
Yeah.
is making the thing work without me needing to make it work.
Yeah.
And great. And then some people, though, don't think that's, a pat on the back. Some people are like, I love that. I come off vacation and everything's on fire because it's like that's how much they need me. And I'm like, I hate that.
Mm.
Like, I love when it just works and I'm not around so I can go do the next thing and move forward.
Mm.
And so when I started my business, that was kind of my thing with fractional COO is my goal is to not work at your company for a long time. My goal is for you to not need my services.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting, I think, concept for people to get a hold of. But stepping out of your own is a very, very risky thing. I think it's a lot more common now. I think with the new generation and technologies we have, but it was a lot for me to say that I'm going to do this and have my family and everybody be on board was amazing. So that was to me felt like a really big accomplishment. And then I mean, even recently, just with family's a big part of what I do and who I am. And my wife recently switched jobs to something that she absolutely loves doing.
Mm.
And everything that I do is partly for my family, of course, to be able to do what they want to do.
Mm.
And so she was able to like take this amazing job that she absolutely loves. And, we're both just like everything that else that's going on in the world,
Yeah.
at least these are some little sparks of light that we have and some joy that we have. So that was a real big thing recently that happened.
Looking for books that spark imagination and teach valuable lessons? The Adventures of Harold from the Hood has 4 wonderful titles: A Trip to the Park, Friends Like Different Things, Fun Time Lunchtime, and When I Feel So Annoyed. Kids can enjoy animated videos, fun coloring pages, and interactive activity books that make learning about empathy, friendship, and social skills exciting. All books are available on every platform. Dive in today at jimpricebooks.education. jimpricebooks.education. Stay blessed. Wow, congratulations. I mean,
Yeah.
I always say people only will see the success and all the victories and everything like that, but they don't really know the backstory to how people get
Yeah.
to that. Like you have an amazing story behind
Yeah.
everything, and you're
Yeah.
successful
A
and
lot of fun.
you're able to, I'm sure you've been still, learning is a lifelong thing. So you probably
Oh
still
yeah.
learn along the way as you go,
Oh yeah.
even at the point of success and stuff, you're adding on to your legacy and everything like that.
Yeah.
No, that's what life is about. You add into your legacy, and
Yeah.
I would say, how do you want people to remember you?
Yeah.
When it's time to make other, have other things.
Yeah.
How do you want to be remembered and stuff?
Right.
It's so important that people do positively influence and impact other people's lives and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
you're a person that's definitely doing that, Benjamin.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. No, it's a good time. I do try to as much as I can, and I think it's one of those that isn't done enough. And I always try to figure out how to do it in the right way, and I still haven't probably figured out how to do it in the right way, but try to voice the things that I believe in
Mm.
and have that be, positive stuff.
Yeah.
And right now, with everything that's going on in the world, I mean, my front yard is, rainbow flags and rainbow this and all of those things. And I mean, I'm in Texas, I'm in Austin.
Yeah.
So, that's great, but I'm still in Texas and I look like me. And so, as much as I can, I'm out there wearing the rainbow hats and all of the stuff saying, hey, we need to be part of this community. We are all here. Traveling globally is one of those where it's like borders are just arbitrary things.
Yeah.
We're humans all over the place.
Absolutely.
Why would you not want this culture
Mm.
just everywhere? It's amazing. And it's one of those that like I feel like I almost need to on like required to, I have the privilege to, speak about. And so that's my next kind of real big thing that I've been carrying with me is how do I do that? How do I voice that in the right way and make sure that, my kids are going to say, hey, that's great that, my dad's out there doing this and saying these things, and they're going to, hopefully grow up to be awesome humans as well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's my next kind of big, I don't want to say it's like an accomplishment or an achievement, but that's something for myself that like I am trying to continue to work on.
Mhm. personal growth, right?
Absolutely.
If you don't keep pushing forward, there can't
Right.
be any progress without action and stuff like that. I mean,
Yes.
a lot of times that's what we try to have people understand. Like, you got to put action behind your
Yep.
ideas of growth. Even if you have the idea, you got to plant the seed at some point. And when you
Yep.
plant the seed, then you're able to watch that seed grow into something beautiful as long as
Yeah.
you nurture it in a positive and correct way and stuff like that. So,
Right.
I mean, a lot of those things, they kind of correlate in a lot
Yeah.
aspects of trying to understand, everybody is on their own path, on their own journey, and
Yep.
how you proceed and things like that. And in terms of how you make progress is all about what action
Hmm.
you take and stuff like that. So
Right.
those are all fabulous. I would also want to know, like, if you were to say, in terms of like advice and stuff for our viewers and our audience,
Hmm.
terms of them maybe reaching their goals and aspirations in terms of not just if they want to do things in your line of the
Hmm.
industry, but just in general, like to meet their goals and stuff like that,
Yeah.
what would you probably give advice for the audience?
Yeah, this is more in like the wheelhouse of what I do, for my job is it's a lot of it is around goals and how to get there. And one of the big things that I've even had to like really talk about recently
Hmm.
is being able to measure some level of action to your point, right? Like, okay, what did you do this week to move it towards your goal? And to understand what are those things that you need to be measuring. So there's the whole concept of leading and lagging indicators, right? Is something lagging is something that happened. Leading is something that you can actually go and do and change that is showing that you're moving towards that thing. And so when I was starting my business, for example, I was thinking like, okay, how do I go and talk about my business? How do I get leads? How do I get sales?
Yeah.
The number of sales I got is the lagging indicator. What am I doing to get those sales is the leading indicator. And so for me, it was, well, I'm going to start going to networking events. And so my goal was simply go to the networking event.
Yeah.
Like step one, right? All first, let's just get you there. It goes back to the old thing of like going to the gym. Step one is just go to the gym. Don't even lift weights. Just go to the gym every day. You know, and so that was the thing. Is like, how do you just? What's the first piece that you need to do? And once you're there and you establish that, and I go, okay, here's the ones that people are going to, and I'm getting a list of just like what are all the different networking events in Austin that I can be attending.
Mhm.
Then the next step, okay, now that I'm going to these, what do I want to get from them? What does a successful attendance of a networking event mean?
Mm.
And, sharing your business card, getting someone's business card, booking the meeting next, in the next step. And so you don't have to do it all at once is a big thing that I talk about. I'm sure somebody else has said it better, but I say it's really just identifying the first next step
Yeah.
because there's going to be a lot of steps here. We can define step 1 and 2 all the way through step 10. And if we know what step 10 is, there really is no reason to define 5, 6, 7, and 8
Mm.
because step three may change after the first step. Step two may change after the first step.
Yeah.
So just define the goal that you're trying to get to and the first step towards that goal and then take it. And then when you get there, just keep doing the same thing. Okay, now that we're here, what have we learned? What's the next one? And then you just keep moving along. And something happens, I think, when you can really break it down into just the simplest form that there's stress that's gone. You're not sitting there contemplating at night, like what happens after that? And then after that, like you don't need to think about that right now. You need to think about the next thing. That's it. It's just the next thing.
Mm.
And so I do a lot of that coaching and teaching and creating those pieces when I work with companies.
Mm.
And not only with the CEOs, but all of the individual, managers in there to go, okay, but let's look at your role and your job and what are those things? What's success in your job?
Mm.
And then what are all these indicators that we can outline and point to? And how do we baby step towards them? So that's a big part of what I've been teaching lately.
That's excellent. I mean, and that's what goal setting is about.
Yeah.
One small step, you make a small step,
Yep.
take that goal, you meet that step, and then you keep going up those steps till you reach the goal. And I mean, and it can be some people make it more complicated and stuff for their
Yeah.
lives, but at the same time, there is a lot of other things that happen. You know, you got life responsibilities,
Oh yeah.
bills, all these kind of things that happen in life and stuff like that. So sometimes,
Yeah.
like how people can go about setting up the steps for those goals, they make it more difficult than what it really is.
Yeah. Yeah. And life is going to happen, and
Yeah.
I say that to everybody when I meet with teams on a weekly basis and I go, okay, how does this week look? Or, how does last week look? And last week was, not so good.
Yeah.
And they go, what do we got to do? I'm like, nothing.
Mm,
You're going to have a bad week. Like, that's totally fine.
mm,
That 1 week is not a pattern, you know? Maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's 3 weeks, but let's see what happens this week. And then we'll, look at it the week after. So if you have a bad week, that's fine. It's the same of, again, like I do enjoy going to the gym and working out and those sort of things. And as people talk about cheat days and stuff like that, I'm like, it's not a cheat day. It's just another day.
it's,
And if you're going to have a day where that's going to happen, you understand, okay, that's going to happen that day. We're going to go to a birthday party and,
mm,
pig out and have cake and all this stuff. But don't go to one every day. Like most of the days are not birthday parties. And like it's fine to have that one
yeah.
and
Mm,
go do that. But you can have that off week
yeah.
and then go, okay, I had an off week. How do I get back on track? What are, again, the basic things I need to do, in those steps? So absolutely. I think there's a lot to be said in there, and that's probably a whole show in itself,
Yeah.
around goal setting. But lately that's kind of been a lot of the mantra I've had.
Yeah. I mean, this has been so many nuggets of great ideas of how to meet your goals
Hmm.
progress through that through positive action.
Yeah.
So many gems that you put in today's interview and stuff like that. And I'm so happy about all that. I'm hoping, I know the audience is definitely gonna love all the gems that in
Awesome
terms
stuff.
of making progress, with the Purpose of Progress
Yeah.
podcast. That's
Yeah.
amazing
Absolutely.
show and everything, right? How could our audience connect with you in terms of like services and stuff like that?
Yeah, website is just spikeconsulting.com. I'm very active on LinkedIn, of course, in doing those things. I've kind of taken a little bit of a break off the TikToks and that stuff, but I do want to get back in there.
Mm,
I co-founded another business recently, and so I've been head down just kind of in that. And so
yeah.
pick and choose where I put things out. But yeah, finding me online is, yeah, Spike Consulting. It's not there's not a lot of them out there. It's a unique enough name that you can find it. And then, yeah, just reaching out. I love talking to people. I have never turned down a calendar invite to get on the phone and chat with people. I think every conversation you can take something away from
Yeah.
and either share it or talk about it or repurpose that into, some nugget of learning for other people as well. So I absolutely enjoy talking to as many people as I can.
Thank you so much, Benjamin. It's definitely an
Absolutely.
absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And as always, we always want to push motivational,
Yes.
inspirational messages about positive progress, taking steps, actions, just like we talked about, and overcoming obstacles too. That's a part of
Yeah.
that process too. So once again, the audience, please follow and like the channel.
Hmm.
And once again, this is Purpose and Progress podcast show. I'm your host, Dr. Price. And like I always like to close out and say, stay prayed up and stay blessed. And we'll see you next time. Thank you. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Purpose in Progress podcast. I hope today's conversation gave you insight, inspiration, or a fresh perspective to help you move forward with purpose. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a little encouragement. You can also support the podcast through the donation link in the show notes. Every contribution helps us keep sharing stories that uplift and inspire. Remember, your purpose is waiting, and progress never stops. I'll see you next time.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Are you noticing your car insurance rate creep up even without tickets or claims? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry handles the legwork by comparing quotes side by side from over 50 top insurers so you can confidently hit buy. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Jerry even tracks rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Don't settle for higher rates. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/libsyn today. That's jerry.ai/libsyn.